So I definitely wanted to include that. I wanted to include the one on DNA. I wanted to include telekinesis. And so these were definitely part of the story. But the crazy one was the blindfold one. I mean, that was like, when I saw the kids, I said, if this is real, because I had not done it before myself.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So that was like 3 years ago. And I said, if this is real, then this means that our consciousness can pretty much program our brain to do anything. And I wanted to also do it scientifically. So that to me ended up being the crazy, like the best part, I think.
I do too. So maybe we should dive into that and explain what happens, because when I pressed play on the documentary a couple of weeks back, my wife, because we've just had a baby daughter, she's 9 weeks old, and
oh, congratulations!
Thank you. It's just been incredible, and she fell asleep and was like, right, I really want to watch this documentary. Are you up for it? And she's like, yeah, my wife, she's a naturopath. She's very open to everything, and the opening scene was with the children. And I think they were playing ping pong with the blindfolds on, and instantly it was like, what? No.
Yes.
Yeah, that really even took us by surprise, So maybe you should dive into that a little bit and explain what happened and what the hell is going on.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I said. I was like, this looks incredible, but is this real? Because that's what kicks in. Like, how is it even possible? So I found them, it was online. I found it online, and I called the, the instructor there in the UK. And I said, I want to come visit you. And so I myself was there. So I'm only speaking about, because there's all kinds of things on YouTube or whatever. So I can't speak forever. I can speak for all the groups that I have personally investigated and visited, and the techniques that I've done myself. So these kids, Guy, so they put these blindfolds on, and look, they're very thick on the side.
Totally.
So it's not like a little kind of, ribbon or something. And so they are reading, they're playing, playing ball, I would hold up a random thing so that nothing was prepared or rehearsed. And when the first time I put the blindfold on, it's totally black, dark. You cannot see anything. And so because of that, because I was so impressed, I wanted to see, okay, who else out there is doing this? So I found other groups, Germany, Russia, like in the movie, also in the US, Canada.
Utah, was it?
Yeah, Utah. Yeah. But I realized that different people use different technique, but they all get to the same result. So some people, for example, use this with the eyes open. Others use it with the eyes completely taped shut, and they have this on top.
Wow.
It's crazy. And but at the end of the day, they could, move around and read and do all kinds of stuff. And so because the film is based on science, I said, what kind of science can we bring to that? So there's scientists in Italy who are able to put a device inside the mask when somebody was reading, and the device showed 0 light photons.
Huh.
So, as you know, our visual system works with light. If there's no light, you can't see. And even if there's a little bit of light coming from the side, the way it works is the light has to reflect on the object for you to see, not this way. Does that make sense? Totally. And in front of you, you still can't see anything. So, like you're saying, these kids were playing ping pong and, riding bikes and
you could have blinkers on and struggle, let alone completely being blindfolded.
Exactly. So that's the science, because I wanted to, again, demonstrate this isn't a magic trick. This isn't a circus act. This is real. And also, not only that there was no light, but the brain waves showed that the brain waves behaved as if they were actually reading, as opposed to not being able to see light. And their pupils also were totally dilated. meaning there's no light. And so that's kind of how we were able to say, okay, well, this is real. There's nothing, nobody's faking. And because the implication of that methodology is crazy. It means that, wait, blind people can be trained to see again, visually impaired folks. So that's the reason why I really, really wanted to include this in the film. But again, show as much real validation as possible.
Yeah, and it's mind blowing. So, how are they doing it? Because you touched on, I was watching, researching a little bit last night, and you touched on a really powerful point about the power of belief when it comes to this exercise. Do you mind delving into that a little bit? Because that just translates then into everything that we do about what we believe in ourselves, our actions, and what's possible.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's the first thing is if you don't believe this is going to work, I mean, don't even try. You don't have to be like, super believer, but at least, the idea that this could be possible somehow, that's good enough. So, but the more you believe, the more you see yourself doing it, the more you visualize, the more you know this is very possible, the faster you will be able to learn. And so, for example, with kids, they learn so quickly. They put the blindfolds on and you tell them, okay, well, what am I holding in my hand? They'll just tell you, but if you do that to an adult, they'll be like, I can't see anything. How am I supposed to see? I will never get this. And all the mind chatter, starts to get in the way. They get in the way. So we just taught a class online, and kids, after 2 sessions, they were able to read and do puzzles. But for adults, it's probably going to take like 8 sessions.
Wow. So adults anyone can learn this.
Yeah, exactly. And so, but because what I'm saying is because the kids believe anything is possible. It's all about believing it's already happening and they can do this. That's why they're so successful.
Amazing. So what does that mean? Does that mean we're actually seeing with our brain, not our eyes?
Absolutely. That's exactly it.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, then this means that you can do all sorts of things. Your consciousness can reprogram your brain to do whatever you want it to do. And in fact, some blindfolds, for example, folks don't even have an eye. Like, for example, there's one gentleman that had lost his eye from an explosion or something. And so what I'm saying is, even if the visual system is damaged, you're still seeing. So how are you seeing? So the brain is finding other ways to see, but it won't do it on its own. You have to tell it. And that you is your consciousness, it's your belief, it's your intention, it's your passion, your desire. That's what's gonna tell the brain, figure out a way, but I want to see.